a part of it. New York, New York.
All right, welcome everybody to Derek's podcast. Obviously, you see me a little bit different today. I'm wearing the headset. Got to get everything going on, and today I got a guest, Emma. So, Emma, how are you doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
Just got back from work. I was half an hour after I was scheduled to leave. So I was quite rough, but we're still hanging in there. So obviously you're from the class of SKHS 2021, same as me. So what have you been up to since the last time I've seen you?
I've been going to college. I go to the University of Rhode Island, and I'm in the Doctor of Pharmacy program. And then when I'm not there, I work at Green Line Apothecary as a pharmacy technician.
And obviously you mentioned going to URI, staying local, and then obviously pharmacy and URI is one of the top programs for those listeners who don't know the University of Rhode Island. So how has college life been? Obviously it was your first year of college. How is just that next step in your life going to college?
I loved it, honestly. I liked all of the independence I had and freedom and how I could pick and choose when I wanted to go to dinner, like small things like that. And my friends were so close. I lived in a living learning community in a dorm. So I was surrounded by people with my same major. So if I needed help, I could literally just go next door to somebody and get help. So it was really, really convenient for me. And I really enjoyed my first year.
And then obviously staying local, going to URI, how big of a deal is just the community of South Kingston, and then just the community of the entire state of Rhode Island for you? Obviously it had to have some impact on you going to the University of Rhode Island.
Yeah, I knew I wanted to stay close to home when I was picking a college, because I came home every weekend. I like being near my parents, so having that same surroundings and community, and I like the environment of Rhode Island, so I knew I wanted to stay here.
And then obviously going to URI, staying local, obviously staying around, obviously you got to be close to your family. You don't want to just stay in Rhode Island and not like your family or whatever. But what was it going on college tours or anything like that? What was it that stood out to you about the University of Rhode Island, excuse me?
Definitely their PharmD program. They have a 6-year program where once you're a freshman, you're guaranteed a seat. Whereas other colleges, it's a 2 and 4 program. So I would go there my freshman and sophomore year, and then I would apply to the pharmacy program. And it's not guaranteed whether or not I would get in or not. So at URI, I'm guaranteed my seat for a full 6 years.
And then obviously you mentioned URI 6 years. Are there any other schools? I mean, I'm not a pharmacy major, as you can tell. But what is it about the other pharmacy schools? Is there any other school that has a full 6-year program, or is it the same thing where it's just like you mentioned, 2 and then 4?
I applied to one other school that was a 6-year program, Albany College of Pharmacy, but it's a really, really small school, and I knew I didn't want to go to a really small school. So yeah, there's not very many 6-year programs. I know UConn was my second choice, but that was still a 2 and 4 program. So
okay, so obviously that having those 6 years was a huge decision, and you going to the University of Rhode Island, obviously wanting to stay local, that's a big part of it. But being in SK, being a high school student, obviously everybody talks about University of Rhode Island. Everybody's like, oh, that's SK 2.0, that type of thing. But just in high school and just in childhood at all, what were your thoughts just on university, on URI? Obviously it changed once you started to find an interest in pharmacy.
yeah, when I was growing up, I honestly never really thought about URI. I kind of always wanted to travel, but as a major started coming into my head in pharmacy, I realized that that was a priority over what I really wanted to do. So that's why I ended up choosing URI. And honestly, people say oh, you'll see people from high school everywhere you go. And that's honestly not true at all. I've met so many new people, and yeah.
And then obviously going to pharmacy, that's a tough program. But what do you see yourself doing? Being obviously a pharmacy major, obviously there's pharmacists and so on and so forth. But what do you see yourself doing?
When I graduate, I see myself either in a hospital or in a more community setting, maybe a CVS, but maybe pediatrics dealing with kids. I don't know. There's a lot of different options. So,
Mhm. And then like when did you start to realize that you had like a passion for like the pharmacy industry?
um, probably like the start of high school. I always really liked math and science and chemistry. Never really been good at English or social studies. So just those. And I've always wanted to go into like some healthcare field, not always pharmacy per se, but um, I was a part of the CNA program at South Kingstown High School. Um, and honestly, dealing with patients like that and like hands-on experience, I wasn't too fond of that. So that's why I kind of chose pharmacy, because it still deals with like the chemistry and the math, but still some patient interaction, but not as much.
And then obviously, like I always ask my guests, all my guests are from SK, but what was your like just overall impression of the town in general? And then talk a little bit about like your high school experience just in general.
I had a really good high school experience. I was surrounded by a bunch of good friends and I had all good teachers. I honestly really miss high school, to be honest, which not a lot of people may say, but yeah, I like the community that we live in, and yeah.
And then what do you say like about the community that like obviously you mentioned that you miss like some of the high school memories and stuff like that, but like you're still in like SK because like URI is literally in Kingston around. We're from SK, obviously like same town, same like place. So what is it about SK? What is it about Kingston around? What is it about just the community in general that stands out to you?
I just feel like we're like so close knit. I feel like everywhere I go, I see someone I know, and it just feels like home to me. It feels comfortable.
And then obviously going into the pharmacy industry, you've talked you want to become like hospital, could be CVS, like stuff like that. Where do you see yourself? Obviously, you've stayed in Rhode Island for obviously high school and then college. Like, do you see Rhode Island as your place and the place that you're going to be for like the rest of your life?
I definitely think that I want to stay in Rhode Island. Yeah. I don't see myself traveling anywhere else in the future.
And then why would you say like Rhode Island is your place?
I just feel like everything is here. I don't really have any reason to go anywhere else at this point. I mean, if anything comes up and I find something with a better opportunity somewhere else, I would go somewhere else. But um, yeah, I have no intentions of going anywhere else other than Rhode Island.
And then what would you say is like your biggest motivation? Like, what is your why? Like, why am I doing this?
Definitely my mom and dad. I always want to make them proud with anything I do, and that's really why I do everything I do, um, even when I don't really want to do it.
And then obviously you mentioned like you're a big like family person. Like what has your family just meant to you just like in general?
They mean pretty much everything to me. Everything I do revolves around them. They do everything for me, and I'm very appreciative of them.
And then obviously what is the like is there one moment that like your parents like stood not necessarily stood out to you because obviously like they're your parents, they obviously like help you across the way. But is there like one particular moment where you're like, wow, like I have some of the greatest like people like surrounding me?
Um, I don't know if I can name like a specific time, but probably when I'm just like stressed out from school, they're able to like calm me down and help me out, and they show me that they're always there for me, and yeah.
And then is there like one experience just in general that has like really made you who you are?
Um, I don't think so. I think everything happens for a reason, and um a lot of things that I've encountered in my life has brought me to where I am today.
And then obviously COVID happened. COVID's still going on, but obviously cases are on the upclimb, but it's still not as bad as it was in the year 2020. So number one, did COVID have any impact on you making a decision to go to URI? And then number two, like what was the impact of COVID on you?
So in terms of college, COVID didn't have really any impact on me. But it did in other factors, because when I was in the CNA program, We were cut short, and we used to go to like the nursing homes, and we would do patient care for a full day. But then COVID hit and we weren't able to go to the nursing home anymore. So I actually wasn't able to finish my hours, nor was any of the class. So that really impacted me. Um, and yeah, classes being online was pretty hard because I like to be in person, and I learn better in person. So that was pretty hard.
And then obviously I always ask, like everyone was like if everyone was healthy, everyone was fine. Obviously it's still COVID. You gotta like be safe and stuff like that. But like no like real impacts like in your family with COVID.
No.
That's always good to hear, especially with COVID impacting people across the world and not having exactly what we're looking for. But like obviously COVID happened, we're quarantined, we're sitting on our like basically like this, we're sitting here doing a Zoom. Like what was that like experience like for you, and like what did that do for you like mindset wise?
I mean, sometimes it was good. Like I would have a lot more free time. I could go to the gym. I could, you know, do school from wherever I wanted to, which is a plus. But the same time, as I said, like I liked being in school. I always enjoyed going to school for some reason. Um, so yeah.
And then I always ask this question, and people were like, nah, no, no, I don't really have a regret. But is there anything like one thing in particular you look back on and be like, wow, I wish things like changed like a different way? Not necessarily that it didn't change out for the better, but something that kind of like changed a little bit and you thought like that sucks. And like what is that experience? If not, like just talk about like how your life has been quote unquote so good.
Um, yeah, I don't think anything has really happened that has changed. I mean, not that I can name. Um, yeah.
And then what would you say, like obviously you mentioned your parents and stuff, but what
Mhm.
would you say like the biggest impact like on your life is?
Um, I don't know. It's a hard question. Um,
Like another question for you would be like, why, like obviously like you mentioned your family, but is there like a particular reason like that stands out to you that like I want to do pharmacy like for a reason, like whether it's to help people or
yeah,
just to like do something in general, and like what is that, and like why?
yeah. I definitely want to help people because I like seeing people happy, and I like to help people. Um, and just putting a smile on someone's face just makes my day. So I do want to help people and make people more healthier. Um, so that's also a reason why I chose pharmacy.
And then would you say there's like like would you say that you're a people person, and like how would you describe yourself?
Mm, I mean, I'm kind of a people person, but at the same time, I am very shy. But if you get to know me, like, I open up a little bit more. But in high school, I was definitely like a shy person, and I didn't really put myself out there that much. But yeah,
And do you think obviously like college is completely different? I'll be honest with you. I've met like tons of people in college, and like they're like I was shy. I was like, dude, like you're kidding me. You're like the most outgoing person I've ever met. So like how has life changed for you? Like not necessarily personality wise, because like obviously you're still yourself, but like how have you changed going into college?
I think like especially living with a roommate, I've learned to like open myself up more to other people, and I became more comfortable with other people. I formed a lot more friends, and I've joined a couple of clubs as well. So I'm putting myself out there more. So
And like I'm in college, obviously you're at URI. Like, what would you say like to those viewers who are either thinking about looking back on their college experience or looking forward to college? Like, what would you say is like the bond, the bond that you have with people in college?
definitely make sure to form as many bonds as you can because it will definitely help you through, especially if you're going to college farther away. You may miss your family or friends from home. So just forming more bonds will help you feel more comfortable and allow you to talk to someone if you need it or if you're stressed.
And like obviously I go to college in New York. Marist College for some of those listeners out there. Obviously, you go to University of Rhode Island, which is more local, so you still have the family aspect. You still kind of have that SK type of scenario where you still have friends at the school and stuff like that. But like, can you explain to me who, like, I don't necessarily know like what goes on like with the, I'm gonna say girl power, but like what the girl bond like are, and like explain like what is like a bond between like girls and girls like in college.
Um, it's definitely something special. Like me and my roommate, we've become best friends. We can talk to each other about pretty much anything, and I love her. So having that bond is definitely a very, very important thing to have. Especially going through really difficult classes. We were in a bunch of the same classes, so we were able to help each other out.
And then would you say, like, obviously you're in a living learning community. How do you say that is, like, obviously class wise it helps, and like you're in the same interest, so like that helps. But like what is it like being in a living learning community, because the people that you're with are so quote unquote similar to you? Like what would you say like just about the living learning community and how it's like helped you?
I mean, although we're studying the same thing, I would say like we're still so diverse. Everyone is, and in the lounges they hold like study sessions. Almost, we have RAs and they're in the same major as well, but they're older than us, so they've had experience prior, and they've done what we're doing right now. So it's really, really helpful when you're looking for guidance. um, and yeah, I've met a lot of people from a lot of different places in my LLC. So
And then what would you say is like one moment you look back on, and you'll look back on that moment from like 10, 15 years down the line and be like, wow, that happened, and like how did that moment like helped you? So like kind of like the happiest moment of your life.
um honestly, probably like graduating high school, or like prom, something from senior year. That was a really happy year.
And then obviously like we were both seniors like not too long ago. Explain to those listeners who, like, obviously everybody knows what senioritis is,
Mhm.
but like how does senioritis like actually affect you?
um just makes you feel unmotivated and you want to just give up, and you've just lost all motivation to do work because you're like, oh, I'm done. But honestly, I didn't let senioritis take over me. I still did all my work. Um, so I don't really have firsthand experience with that, but because I was still like thinking about college, although like I already got in. That's just me.
Yeah, I had basically senioritis basically the entire school year, because I was like, I'm thinking to myself, I'm getting out of here. I'm
Yeah.
not thinking about the past. I'm not thinking about anything else. And I was just like, I got accepted to like schools like firsthand, and I was like, I'm out. Like I'm out. I'm out. I'm packing my bags and moving on to the next journey.
Yeah.
And then obviously going to URI, like it is the next journey, but you're still staying local. So
Mhm.
like how is your how is being at the University of Rhode Island, and pursuing pharmacy just like in general?
It's been really good. Sorry, my dog is barking. The classes have definitely been very, very difficult. Like chemistry, anatomy. I'm actually in organic chemistry right now. I'm taking it over the summer, but it's been good otherwise. Just very stressful.
I was taking like any of those classes, I swear to God, I would be um like passing out. I took intro to bio, no, topics in biology like
Mhm.
this semester, and I swear to God, I had absolutely no clue what was going on in the entire class. It was terrible. So I definitely should have asked you for some assistance in that class.
Yeah.
And then obviously, like as we look on to the new chapter, and just looking like on to the future, like where do you see yourself like 10 years down the line? Like obviously you mentioned like you want to be in pharmacy. You most likely like want to be in Rhode Island. You've talked about maybe CVS, but like, what do you see yourself like doing? Not necessarily just job wise, but like as activities, like stuff to do around besides so focused on being in the pharmacy field.
Um, I definitely want to be in my own house. Um, maybe be married and have maybe a kid. I don't know. I don't know about activities. Um, that's a hard question. I
Like,
don't know.
like what did you do in high school? Like, first of all.
Um, I swam in high school, so maybe join like a club swim team.
So like obviously you're a beach person then, right?
Mhm.
So like what's your favorite beach?
Um, I usually go to East Matunic because I live closest to East Matunic. So yeah.
Okay. Do you think like obviously East Matunic, you're close to East Matunic. Do you see yourself like obviously with SK school districts changing, left and right, everything going on? Um, you mentioned Rhode Island. Do you see yourself like in SK in particular? And also, is it Matunic that you love, or is it SK as a whole?
I think SK as a whole. I mean, even if it's not SK, um, I love Narragansett. Narragansett is also one of my favorite towns. Um, yeah.
Obviously, like I've been to Matunic, and I'm like near Broad Rock.
Mhm.
Like going to Matunic is like half an hour, 45
Yeah.
from like where I live. So like you're close, but like looking at it, like what do you like when talking to people like at URI that are not from Rhode Island, do you ever have a conversation of like, oh, I'm only like an hour away from you. That's pretty close. And you're like you're just like stunned at like
Yeah.
how that's close.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because like my boyfriend, he'll be like, "Oh, your house is like so far away," and I'm like, "It's literally like 10 minutes away."
10 minutes and he says it's far. Geez.
Yeah, he always complains, and I'm like, "It's not that bad." But yeah, if someone asks or whatever, I'll be like, "Oh, I'm like 20 minutes away," and they're like, "Oh, you're so close," whatever. Mm.
Yeah.
It's different, the perspectives.
The Rhode Island, the Rhode Island people don't have any idea on how far things are.
Yeah,
I swear to God, people are like, "Oh, you're an hour away from my house." I'm like, dude, like that's an hour. I'm
yeah,
like straight, like I'm not driving an hour to see you. I'm sorry.
yeah.
And then obviously, like some of our viewers will probably know a little bit about you, but like, what is one thing that like if they don't know who you are, that you'd like them to know about you?
Um,
Like obviously they know you're going to URI, you're studying pharmacy, but like what would you like describe yourself as like personality traits wise?
Shy, but once I get to know you, I open up and um I think I'm a pretty kind and happy person, pretty positive most of the time, or as much as I can be. Um, I'm hardworking. Yeah.
So question for you, since you say you're so positive, how can you be so positive with everything going on in the world, controversies? Obviously, we just had the incident yesterday and just everything going on in the world, COVID happened. Like, how do you just stay so positive?
You just need to look at the brighter things. I mean, obviously, it's important to pay attention to the negatives as well, because we can't just ignore that. But you just need to always remember what you do have and what is good in the world. And yeah.
And then, and then, like obviously you mentioned that you're shy at first, and then you start to open up. But like, why are you shy? Like what is like holding you back?
I think probably like what people think of me for the most part. I don't want to like, I don't know. I'm always a person who thinks about what other people will think about me. So I usually just kind of keep quiet and keep things to myself, I would say. Which I've definitely like worked on over the years.
And then obviously, like we mentioned, COVID earlier. Like, how has your life changed to COVID? Because let's be honest here, everybody's life has changed a little bit due to COVID, whether it's being more safe, using using hand sanitizer like I got in my room, doing like washing your hands, what has changed for you?
I would agree with the hand sanitizer. I take hand sanitizer everywhere with me. Constantly washing my hands after everywhere I go. Just being more safe and cautious about germs. And definitely the masks as well. At URI, still in lecture halls, we still need to wear a mask. So that's kind of changed. And at work for like 8-hour shifts, like wearing that like gives me a headache, and it's I don't know, just running around all day with it on kind of affects me, but I know we have to do it.
So obviously you mentioned URI, you guys had to wear mask. Let's go back a little bit. So how is the college campus like related to COVID? So obviously everybody started out wearing masks, getting tested, I think a little bit like all the colleges did at the
Yeah.
beginning. Most wore masks for at least the first semester. Then things started to die down a little bit depending on where you are.
Mhm.
Obviously the South probably, lifted the band a little bit earlier than most people. But like when did you guys first of all, did you guys ever drop the mask policy? Because I know I did. I think some of my URI friends did, but you never know.
Yeah. So first semester we had to wear a mask everywhere we went. And then beginning of second semester, we still had to wear a mask, but towards the end of second semester, we didn't have to wear a mask in our residence halls anymore, the dining halls, and the library. But we still have to wear a mask in lecture. But everywhere else, like in the building, we don't have to wear a mask.
So throughout the entire year, you always had to wear a mask through every single lecture.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That is that's hilarious looking at it from like we dropped the mask policy, like
Hmm.
where I go in Marist at Marist College.
Hmm.
Probably I want to say like either early April or March.
Wow.
Like maybe February, maybe like somewhere in the rounds of February, March, or April, around there. And it's just funny that you guys had to like, stick it
Yeah.
out. But
For the-
obviously your classes are like a lot bigger than mine. My largest class was probably like I want to say maybe 30.
Wow. Yeah. My lecture halls have maybe like 230, like 230 kids. But I would also say it depends on the professor as well, because my anatomy professor, for like the last month or so of school, we didn't have to wear a mask, but that was the only class I didn't have to wear a mask in. So I think it also depended on like the professor's preference, but I don't
That's
know.
that's how ours was too, and then students as well. But most of them just didn't care because they were just so fed up with wearing a
Yeah.
mask and stuff like that. But like looking back at your high school experience, what was your favorite part of SKHS?
Um, Definitely being a part of the groups that I was in, like Ripple and peer to peer. I really enjoyed being a part of those groups and meeting every week.
And then obviously those changed during the COVID. Can you talk a little bit about that? I remember I had a guest on, I want to say last year, who is in peer to peer. Just
Yeah.
explain like what that is for some of our listeners, peer to peer and SK Ripple.
So peer to peer is in coalition with the Chris Collins Foundation, and it helps to reduce the stigma around mental health. And it's kind of similar for Ripple. Ripple's inspiring positive lifestyle. And we just kind of work to provide like activities and posters and things around the school that would help provide some insight on what mental health actually is and some resources that people could use for it. Um, and it changed because we used to meet Wednesday before school since it was like a late start, whatever. And then when COVID happened, we switched to online meetings. So
And then obviously those are big parts of just SK community, just people in general, mental health, making sure everyone is okay, making sure everyone during like the tough times was okay and accounted for as like people actually care like about you type of thing.
Mhm.
And then obviously graduation happened. Like what do you miss the most like about like everything?
um, definitely my friend group. I haven't really been with my entire friend group since high school. Like I've seen them separately, but we used to all hang out and be in class together. And I definitely miss that, being with all of them and having lunch with them and stuff.
And then last question for you, Emma. Obviously, we graduated last year together. Obviously, high school reunions are, I always think about this because I'm always about the future type of guy. But obviously, this is 10 years down the road. Like, what are you most looking forward to seeing, and also like just doing in general, like at these high school reunions?
I'm looking forward to seeing everyone, seeing how much people have like changed and what people have like taken on as a career and if they have kids, you know?
All right, I appreciate the time you took with me today, Emma.
Yeah, thank you.